Capricorn. Yes, it's your turn now. So that's you, Capricorn. This is your love and relationship report for October 2017 from Tarot Lumination. Okay? So we're going to try and keep it as simple as possible. It, you've done this before, you know the drill. Watch for your sun and your moon and your rising. Squish them all together and turn it into your own story. Reinterpret however you need to make it all fit. Okay? We're just telling a story here, and let's see how it works out for you. No oracles, no flyers, no jumpers, no reversals. Keeping it very simple. We're going to work from the assumption that there's you, there's the other, and there's the relationship itself, a third entity that has a life and an energy of its own, and that in a really strong, loving, healthy relationship, both parties conduct themselves through the relationship. They invest in the relationship. They nurture and maintain the relationship. Let's have a look. Of course, not everybody does that, even though they might think they're in a significant relationship. But anyway, I thought I better tell you. I'm not trying to tell you. I'm just trying to offer my perspective. Let's just call it that. All right, here we go. I'm trying to do a really strange cut to break up the energy here. So we have a nice clean read, and we're going to go for it. So this would be you, your energy, all right, Capricorn? This would be a significant other, a chosen other, a person of interest, deep, deep interest, vested. Going deeper into you here, okay, Capricorn, deeper into the other here, and going to the core here of the relationship itself. And this would be the momentum. Now, just want to point out here, can you see the shape I'm trying to create here for you? It is the shape of a crucible, the crucible being the relationship itself, which has a structure and identity of its own. A really good, strong crucible, a really good, strong relationship can withstand intense pressure, intense pressures that occur in a relationship. Even if it's a very deeply loving relationship, there are intense pressures that occur that can sometimes take the crucible to a breaking point. And hopefully with a good, strong relationship here, or in some way or another, the relationship can endure. If it's very deeply fractured, then the crucible can break and then the relationship changes and moves on, okay? So we're going to look at the bottom card here in just a second. That's what I feel is like the weather that permeates the situation right now. We're living through October. This is not the beginning, middle, and end of all readings. This is just something to give you some color and perspective going through October. So we have for you the Five of Swords. Now with the Five of Swords here, it's an indication. It's almost like let's say the weather is, let's say, reflecting yourselves back to you in some way. It feels like, it's almost like the angels above are saying, excuse me, dear Capricorn, I'm sure you mean the best. I'm sure you're doing the best you can, but you're in some ways tying yourself up in knots. We just wanted you to know that, because if you're in a conflicted situation in the relationship, whether it's with the relationship yourself or the other or inside of yourself, there's a lot of like futile conflict that's going on, that it's not, it's a huge waste of energy. So this would be the energy, like the Five of Swords in terms of weather would be the energy of just smugness, or like being self-assured that everything is okay when it's not, and then when everything isn't okay, holding up, putting up the barbs in order to maintain one's sense of self and dignity inside the relationship, even though there might be some serious conflicts that need to be addressed. Okay, let's have a look at you. Okay, so Capricorn, it might be that you're already doing everything that you can. You're fully invested, you're fully working, you are literally kind of being a really good classic Capricorn, nose to the grindstone, just doing exactly what has to be done to a very high standard, to a meticulous standard, in a way that is highly valued by others, in a way that brings home value and stability to yourself and the relationship. To me, it feels here like you are like radiating the energy of someone who is dedicated, who is hardworking, and has no problem with being that way, and actually enjoys that. You actually would enjoy being in a good, solid, committed relationship. And you're not shy of doing the work. And because that's how, you grow a relationship. That's how you nurture a relationship. It does involve working it. It does involve putting yourself out there above and beyond your daily comfort zones. But it also can indicate that you might be working too hard to the point where the relationship might be getting neglected. Capricorns, you can be very, very immersed in the business of life, making life work, and so on, to the point where it might have gone so far that the relationship itself has been kind of a little bit neglected. We'll see. Let's keep going. Let's have a look inside the other. Okay. Well, Capricorn, you might be relating with someone here who is, let's say, pondering new horizons, and perhaps even has, let's say, the best of intentions. Now, this isn't necessarily good or bad, because they might be pondering new horizons for the relationship, for themselves, and for you in ways that are very optimistic, positive, and hopeful. But that's not clearly defined yet. And the reason I'm being a little cautious here is because of the prevailing conditions, which are indicating that there might be a lot of simmering, let's say, how some couples uh, conduct themselves as though everything's okay and they're putting their smiley face on, but sometimes their words and actions are exactly the opposite. So it's almost like one of those like very subtle FU type gestures. Well, there might be a little bit of that going on, even though you might be hard at it, just doing what has to be done. And they might have great ambitions too, and they're starting to plot out and look forward to new goals, new horizons, and stuff. But it might be happening in the context of a relationship dynamic that actually needs a lot of work. Let's put it that way. I don't know how to express it. In other words, they might be quite comfortable in themselves. Some people can get quite comfortable being uncomfortable. What's that saying? It's kind of the new hip saying now, to the point where, some couples can function happily like that forever. Like, I'm just doing what I got to do, bringing home the bacon, honey. And how are you doing? Oh, I've got some great ideas. What are we going to do tomorrow and everything? It's going to be just wonderful. Oh, so you're going to invite the relatives over? Oh, go on. Okay, fine. Like, oh, okay, that'll be great. So I'll make sure everything's organized and you just pay for it all, okay? And you kind of go, of course, darling. Great. It's that kind of stuff. It's just like an old fashioned black and white movie or something where everything's simmering under the surfaces and there's all sorts of like, yeah, I'm going to sleep on the other side of the bed tonight. And you're going to really miss me. Ha ha ha. Well, and they're like, well, it's okay because I have all these other things I'm thinking about anyway. So I'm probably over dramatizing things a little bit here for you, Capricorn, but I'm just trying to set the tone. Okay, we haven't got into the depths of it yet, but I'm just trying to feel the tone here. Again, there could be a whole pile of love, a whole big pile of love. It's just that things have reached a point where things can be very, very prickly. Some couples can get that way. Things are very, very prickly. Order is maintained. Everything is stabilized. You're stabilizing things. They are, let's say, planning the relationship and what works for the whole relationship. And it might be very noble and you might be in agreement that it's all good, but there's still a lot of prickliness under the surface. What's going on deep inside of you, Capricorn? Let's just say you're in a position where, like, deep inside, you are absolutely determined to be yourself, your absolute self, unequivocal self, undeniable self, unquestionable self. And you're doing whatever you have to do that, because uh, in a way, this would really suit you, Capricorn. It would make a lot of sense for you to want to maintain and at least create this kind of identity and energy for yourself. It's very, very strong male masculine energy. It might be a little bit over the top right now. That's what I'm sensing here, because maybe it is coming out as oppressive or domination or uh, control issues where you might not be allowing for a lot of flexibility or give and take in the relationship. And it could indicate that you want everything to be exactly your way because you know it's good, because you know what works. You're already investing so much, and you're a smart, hardworking person, and you have all the best of intentions, just so long as it all goes my way. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm being a little bit blunt there. I'm sorry, Capricorn. I don't want to judge you or anything like that. All I'm saying is that this is the energy of absolute power here. This is the energy of someone who does not like to be challenged and sees no reason to be challenged. And when they are challenged, would not respond in a way that's very conducive to a healthy relationship. It's more like they would say, excuse me, what's going on here? And that would be the expression of their of prickly behavior, which would trigger prickly behavior from a significant other, which would come back to you, Capricorn, in the form of that smiley faced little barbed language, those yes, honey, of course. Of course, I'll make sure everything's absolutely organized, you big fat. And they're saying that under their breath. In other words, God, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to describe the images that I'm feeling here for you, Capricorn. And it feels very theatrical. It feels very cinematic. I don't know why I'm feeling that, but it does feel very much like a very classic movie of a couple, a romance couple, where everything is just like, let's have a look. What's going on inside of them? So, with the Sun card, it's almost like nothing can go wrong. So in some ways, Capricorn, you might be very, very lucky to be relating to someone who is perfectly capable of handling your let's say, what's the word here? Your fullness, your magnificence, your awesomeness, your power, your dignity, authority, because they're coming at you with a complete smiley face, like, hello, hello. And you're like, who do you think you are? Just swanning around, thinking you can just make all the plans and run the relationship just because you're you. And then the other person is saying, well, that's just because that's how I am. I'm just a very naturally happy, loving, caring person, and I love you very much. And I love our relationship very much. And all I want is the best for you, the best for me, the best for all of us. And then you, Capricorn, are like, did you ever consult me about that? Excuse me? If I'm not, I know I'm a guy reading this, but this can be the energy of a woman too. There are women who can be extremely dominant, dominating, and controlling with the best of intentions. And you might just be a person, male or female, who is in a relationship where you are showing that side of yourself, like the absolute, unquestionable, dominant side of yourself, to the point where you're attracting essentially the equivalent back from the other. But it's a very different type of power, because if you look at this in terms of power, let's say like the balance of power in a relationship, where they are just simply, the other person they're just simply figuring out what's going on with all the best of intentions. They're not freaking out about whatever it is let's say, actually going on inside the relationship that has all the appearances of really, really like conflicted, barbed, like tit for tat behavior where there's no possible good outcome. they might be living with it just because that's what's happening right now, but their intentions are absolutely pure and wholesome and good. It's just that it might not feel that way because we're dealing with like core identity issues here, core power struggle issues here, where there are two very, very equally matched uh, people in the relationship, you, Capricorn, and a significant other, both powerful, very dignified, both magnificent in your own ways, but your own ways are very, very different. Your ways might be very, very absolute and unquestionable, and their ways might be just purely wonderful and happy-go-lucky to the point where they are, as far as they're concerned, completely indestructible, indefeatable as well, because they are just made of light and love and happiness, and nothing trumps that. Not even you, Capricorn. So do you see what I'm trying to get at here, Capricorn? It's maybe like a power thing going on. Let's see. You know what happens when you get two very, I don't want to turn this into a battle or a war, but there is a lot of energy of uh, futile, unwinnable situations here. It's like when you get, I don't know, I don't watch those shows like those, whatever it is. What do they call those MMA art, those big, like big fighter shows where, there's people beating each other up. And this might be a situation where you've got two extremely well, equally matched partners, and they both know it. And instead of actually getting at it, boof, 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 it's more like a lot of posturing, posturing, and nothing's actually getting done because the work needs to be done, but it's not being done. It's just, let's say, behavior. Let's have a look at the relationship, the relationship dynamic itself here, okay? Okay, well, with the Ten of Pentacles here, it may be, I don't know why I'm laughing, but this is what I'm feeling. It may be that both parties here, you, dear Capricorn, are fully aware of your own awesomeness, your own value, your own wealth, your own mission, your own purpose, and you are fully dedicated to doing all that and being that. As far as you're concerned, you are fully investing in the relationship, and that's who you are, what you're doing, and that's great. Okay, and so from your perspective, remember this is your reading, Capricorn. It's not a couple's reading. There's not you, Capricorn, and the other one over there. This is a private read. It's not a public. It's a public reading for you, Capricorn, for you, with a significant other over here. Okay, so it could be an indication that there's no question about it that the relationship has high value. It is a relationship of significance. It's a relationship that has long-term stability and abundance and value. And it looks like both parties have already deeply vested in the relationship, which is good. That's very good for the long term. And it's just coming from very different perspectives, very, very different angles. They might have all these wonderful dreams and ambitions about how it should be and could be and the way it's going to go according to what they feel it should be. Like they're planning like the next vacation. They're planning the next holiday. They're looking at brochures for new housing. You're looking at new apartments, new jobs. Hey, let's relocate. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's do that. And you're over here. There's Capricorn going, well, I have no idea why you're being this way, because we've already got something that works really well, because I'm in charge and I control everything, and that's the only way it's ever going to work properly anyway, because I'm a Capricorn and that's just how it is. I don't know if some people like to name these with star signs, but I'm not doing that here. It's you, Capricorn. You're just being your most awesome self here. They're being their most awesome self. And there's no question that the relationship has a degree of stability, a degree of value and appreciation between yourself and the other. It's in some ways extremely well balanced, but the energies are very, very different kinds of power. So it puts you, Capricorn, in a position where since this is kind of what's around, it's what's floating around. It's like a lot of static electricity in the air, that simmering you know, that smiley faced energy, but behind it is a lot of barbed words. I talked about that earlier, and it needs to come out. It needs to be expressed. That's the problem. But it's futile here because you're coming from such different perspectives. And again, I'm going back to that. I feel it really visually, like an old black and white movie, and where she, you know, he or she's sitting on the sofa going through brochures. What about a new car? We can afford it. You work very hard. You're very powerful, capable. I'm an awesome mate, and I deserve that. I think our relationship deserves this. I think our relationship can easily withstand the pressures of upgrading, and we can do it together because we've always done it together and it works fine. And then you're like, does that mean I'm going to have to pay for everything, or are you going to be the one who drives it and I pay for it? How's it going to work? And they're like, oh no, honey, you can use it sometimes too. Can you see the energy I'm trying to get across here? Like, and it's almost like, what about, let's go on a cruise. Let's go on a cruise. And you're like, well, yeah, who's going to pay for that? I got to work. You just can't go around spending all the money. I'm like, well, wait. But we're rich, honey. We've got it all. We've already built it all. We've got a retirement plan. We've got everything. We've got our legacy. Everything's working fine. Except that it isn't, because there's a lot of prickly stuff going on underneath. So what's the momentum here? I feel like I'm moving along really quickly with this reading, Capricorn. Maybe because I want to get out of the woods and let you guys get at it, because I don't want to get stuck in the middle here. Sorry, having a little bit of fun. Oh, isn't this sweet? So, you know how sometimes a really loving couple can really go at it the way we've been describing? Yes, honey. Of course, honey. Yes, darling. Of course. Just like you say, as you say, yes. And then, yes, of course. I'll do exactly what you say, exactly the way you want it all the time, just like I've always done. And you're like, I've never actually once noticed you taking any advice from me at all, even though I always give good advice and know exactly what to do all the time. And then you're back over the other ones coming in like, well, it's because I always know better anyway, and we already know that. Anyway, it's just that you don't like to admit it because you're so full of yourself. Oh, excuse me. You're the one who's so full up with their own light you can think you can do anything and everything all the time. And in some ways, it's very beautiful. Can you see that, Capricorn? Can you see where I'm heading here? In some ways, it's just absolutely beautiful because it's a very kind of prickly, theatrical, like faux fighting, you know, like sword fighting, but you don't actually do anything, like because deep down you love each other very, very deeply. And you might actually get off on the sport of, let's say, fake conflict, fake battles, because it keeps things lively and sparked up and alive. And every now and again, yeah, you might actually touch sword to sword. Bam, bam. And yeah, maybe they will score points on you, and maybe you will score points on them. But obviously, it looks like you're not letting it own the relationship. In other words, that stuff is not going to get you down because it looks like somewhere here there's a lot of deep, deep love. And this is like the evidence of love. Of all these 10 of Pentacles here, this is the tangible stuff. Love, in other words, after investing in a relationship, as love is as love does, you can prove it. Like, we've got proof here. It's like Capricorn, you have proof of a, you know, potentially really good relationship. And it shows. It has all the evidence, all the classic ingredients of a loving, healthy relationship, even though it might not look at that just like that right now because of this, let's say, these barbed words and issues and tit for tat behavior going on. But that just could be part of your like role playing, game playing that can happen, you know, over the long term in the context of a relationship anyway, where it's almost like the joy of sparring with each other when two highly equally matched partners actually really enjoy it. Like every now and again, they actually do you know, engage, like buff, 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 buff. But most of the time, a lot of it is posturing. So it's a lot of, ha ha ha. But deep down, it looks, because this is like a soulmate card to a lot of people. The Six of Cups here, it's almost like, you know what, honey? We've been at it at each other's throats for weeks now, months now. Why don't we have a big hug and make up, and let's go and do something fuzzy and warm and nice the way we used to? And that's you speaking, Capricorn. And then they go, finally, finally, my dear loved one, I was waiting for you to say that, because otherwise I was just going to keep niggling you and niggling you and niggling you. But you figured it out. You figured it out. And then you come back and say, well, you know I was going to figure it out in the end anyway. You already know that you're always the one to blame for when everything goes wrong. And I just have to wait to just say it. And then the other one says, excuse me, it's the other way around, honey. Thank you very much. And then eventually you like kiss and make up. You realize, that's what I needed to know. I needed to know that I was wrong. And I needed to know that I was wrong. But I also wanted to remind you that you were the one who was wrong. And I just wanted to remind you that you were the one who was wrong. But it doesn't really matter, because we love each other. Let's make up. Let's make up. Let's make up and get back to square one, because that's what we got. That's what we own. And that's how it always was. Because this is the little Six of Pentacles. It's soulmate love. It's almost like you can't destroy this. It's built out of soul love energy. It's full of light and love. It's full of power and magnificence. And it's full of ambition, and it's full of work. And if things spark out now and again, so what? That's just the energy of, one of those Tesla coils. When everything gets a little bit heated, it goes zzz, 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 zzz. That can be fun now and again. All right, let's leave it at that, Capricorn. I don't want to spoil it by saying anything more. Let's cut it short. Let's stop now, and I'll just get out of here, and you can make the best of it. Watch for your sun, moon, and rising, and have an awesome October. Bye.